the bad performance in the good times? I mean, nobody answers this. And why the cost cutting was not effected when things were going well? Perhaps the profitability of the company would have gone up. I mean, these are the things which one should carefully examine while deciding what corporations should do when the economy turns up. Coming to the talent, I mean, nowadays we hear about loyalty to the profession rather than loyalty to the corporation. I mean, that's a language which Gen X speaks. They feel that when their ability is best utilized by the company, they would like to work there, and once they feel that the abilities are not used, they would like to look for a change. Coming to IT sector, let us give a deep thought into the way it has progressed. Somewhere in 90s, when IT started growing, most of the corporations, they started recruiting engineers for a typical level 1 support, level 2 support. And we started projecting our engineers to the Western world, that we have got talented, educated professionals who can carry on the job. But none of us thought that whether these engineers were required to do level 1 and level 2 support. Even today, I think there are very few companies, I mean, to name a few, like Wipro. Wipro is one of the Indian companies, and maybe part of the IBM. They really match the talent to the job which a person is required to do. And these are the companies which have meticulously thought a plan and hired so-called non-engineers to do a job, and where there's a real talent match. And that is what I call it as a talent management. It's basically not underutilization of the skills and capabilities of the individual, but optimum utilization of the skills and capabilities. Now, going forward, perhaps one or two things what I feel one should think is we should go away from so-called the permanent jobs or the on-the-rolls jobs and all. With the high attrition, I mean, all of us know that with the economy improving, the attrition rates are going to go up. From the single digit now, they are going to be double digit. Perhaps we should think of options like employing a person for a project. I'm not telling that temporary employment. Take the person on the rolls, but make it mandatory for the person to work for a project. The project will go for 3 years, let him work for 3 years. But there should be a retention factor. Don't give him 100% of his compensation. Give him 80% of the compensation, retain 20% of that, and give it at the end of the project. At the end of the project, give an option to him whether to continue or to go to a different project. I mean, these are the new things perhaps one should think as we get into the new age where the economy is going to grow.
Talent management, and he probably disagreed with the notion that it's a superior quality. And okay, I accept that. What I gave was I think a dictionary meaning. Okay, so I mean that was to set the tone. He made an important point of matching the talent with the job, the position, and finally also whether people can be taken on a project basis. And these are interesting thoughts. I think a lot of food for thought, for discussion and debate, and I'm sure some of you can raise questions on that. The next panel member who might make the 5-minute talk.
Talk about a little bit about how talent management really has changed, and it's probably important for us to look at not just the post-recession piece, but also, I would go back to some fundamental shifts that happened around the 1990s. And there are 3 things that I would really talk about which have changed the way we practice talent management today and the way organizations are indeed looking at their people. And I agree with Aparna that I don't think it's, these 3 fundamental changes, 3 things that happened and 1 thing that did not happen, I think remain the same even post-recession. So what are the 3 things that did happen? I think the first thing is the liberalization in India in 1990s. And suddenly, there was an abundance of jobs that were available. So that's the first thing. I think compared to the past, compared to the pre-1990 era when, good jobs were certainly hard to come by, and you had more applicants than the number of good jobs that were going around. That was one key shift that happened. The second key shift that happened was with Gen Y getting into the workforce. And all of us have read a lot about Gen Y, but clearly this group of people was more questioning, more demanding than the Gen Xers. That was the second big shift that happened. And the third, I think, was the technology and media revolution. which meant that suddenly everyone was more connected, more aware of what's happening, not just in their city and their industry, but what's happening in the country and around the world. Now, each of these in isolation would have produced perhaps a different result, but all of it put together, I think really dramatically changed the way talent management, was practiced. I remember when I joined the workforce 15 years back, it was perfectly acceptable for HR practices to be shrouded in some kind of mystery, with the overall thing that HR knows best, it's okay, that's the way we, work with our people, which I think is unthinkable today because of all these three things happening together. And if I look at organizations, I think 2 or 3 of the biggest impacts that I would like to really, talk about is one, clearly scarcity of talent is here to stay. And again, as my other panelists also mentioned, recession or no recession, we are struggling to get the right people for the right jobs. So, it's not as if post-recession there's an abundance of talent. Perhaps it's due to the fact that it's not a perfect market. It's not as if, as a person who is seeking a person to come on board, I don't have access to all the possible people who would be available. And similarly, a person who's looking out for a job does not necessarily have access or knowledge to all the opportunities that there are. So it's not a perfect market, and because of that, there is certainly, a demand-supply mismatch. And that's, I think, there to stay for some time. Because of the one thing I forgot, what did not happen, I think, was the reform in the education sector, which is clearly lagged behind. So the demand in terms of jobs or employable skills grew much faster than the reform in education sector. And so the demand-supply mismatch is here to stay. So that's number one. Arising out of that, I think, is clear dilution in leadership standards. I think, when a lot of us used to hire and we used to place people in leadership positions saying fit for growth, okay? So a person moves into the role, we know, of course, he can do that job, and he probably can do the next 2 jobs as well. But today you're in a situation where you're saying fit for purpose. Can he do this job? Yes, he can. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. So that's, I think the demand supply, the talent scarcity is one reality that organizations are facing. The second is a leadership, dilution. Whatever we may say, I think we are pushing people who are 60% ready, 70% ready, and we are hoping that with good coaching, good mentoring, good development, people can really come on speed. The third is, I think, a lot more focus on engaging with employees. Because of the fact that it's Gen Y, because of the fact that there is a talent scarcity, there's a lot more focus in terms of communication and engagement than whatever we have seen in the past. And the fourth, I think, is, loyalty is not even talked about as a virtue. I do remember, as I said, I keep sounding like a dinosaur when I say I joined the workforce so many years back. But I think, loyalty was a very acceptable virtue, and today nobody talks about it. And the acceptable terminology is what's in it for me. So certainly these are some of the key changes that we have seen in organizations, and I have seen in the last few years that I have worked. And therefore, if I look at it from a talent management perspective, whether you look at talent acquisition, whether you look at talent development, whether you look at talent deployment, or you look at talent identification, I think it's very important for us to keep these socio-economic changes in the context of the decisions that we take. So I really do not have solutions to suggest, because solutions are always contextual to the organization and to the industry. But really to say that I think all our practices, and I'm sure my fellow panelists will bear me out, I think these are some of the realities that we are contexting any practice that we are having now in the talent management space too. So that's really what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Priya. Priya took us through the changes that have taken place post-liberalization. And I think 1 or 2 very important points she made, that the talent gap is here to stay. And mitigating this gap is really a challenge for everyone. That's one of her key points. And she also mentioned that the leadership that we have today is questionable, in the sense that we don't have the right leadership. And people are only prepared for only 60 to 70% of the roles that they are expected to do. Thanks, Priya, for making these points. Then I next move over to Subhash to make his